Bellator 184 is in the books as Darrion Caldwell defeated Eduardo Dantas by unanimous decision to become Bellator's new bantamweight champion. Emmanuel Sanchez showed up big time in the co-main event, as the Rufus Sport product scored a major third-round submission on Bellator's former featherweight champion, Daniel Straus. Also at Bellator 184, Pat Curran made his return to action by counter-punching his way to a unanimous decision victory over a very game John Macapa. Leandro Higa kicked off the main card broadcast by picking up a unanimous decision of his own against the always tough Joe Anglo. Main card Darrion Caldwell def. Eduardo Dantas by unanimous decision 4,847 by 2, 5,045 bantamweight title. Caldwell found the back of Dantas to start the bout, where he hit a patented suplex on the champion. Dantas stood back to his feet, but Caldwell maintained control of the back, and held on until the referee broke them apart due to a lack of action. Dantas landed a few solid shots before the round ended, but might not have been enough to take the round. Caldwell exploded into a takedown to jump-start the second round, but Dantas was able to work his into open space, and unload a bit of offense. Caldwell landed a heavy left hand that dropped his foe, and looked for a front choke right away. Dantas recovered and returned to open space, and began to pressure Caldwell. Dantas did a superb job of defending the takedown to open the third frame, but Caldwell spent a decent bit of time holding his opponent against the cage. Dantas managed to find himself in top position, and held down the NCAA wrestler for the rest of the round. Caldwell blasted in on a takedown to plant Dantas on the floor in the first minute of the fourth round, but a series of scrambles finished up with Dantas on the back. Caldwell spun around inside the guard of his opponent, but again, Dantas stood back to his feet, and finished the round in a dominant position. Caldwell scored with a flying knee in the fifth round, but Dantas ate it well and pressed forward, albeit with low volume. Dantas found himself with his back taken again, but a botched takedown gave Dantas the top position. Caldwell gave up his back in the final 10 seconds, but time ran out before Dantas could mount much offense. Who doesn't enjoy a good suplex? The recipient Emmanuel Sanchez def. Daniel Straus by submission triangle at 156 of round 3 featherweight. Straus wasted no time in getting the takedown, but Sanchez was able to scramble and lock up a super tight knee bear. Straus kept his cool, and worked his way back into top position. From side control, Straus scored many times with short elbows, before Sanchez rolled out and took the back. Sanchez worked for the RNC, but Straus was wise to it, and defended well until the clock ran out. Straus shot in again to open up the second stanza, but Sanchez defended well and briefly took the back. Sanchez ate up a solid amount of time, with top control, even moving into full mount, complete with some good old-fashioned GP. Sanchez was relentless with his ground strikes, throwing elbow after elbow and hammerfist after hammerfist, but once again the clock ran out and removed Straus from harm's way. Straus closed the distance on his opponent and transitioned right to the back, but Sanchez scrambled out and ended up with Straus inside of a triangle. Straus tried to punch his way out of the choke, but Sanchez made all of the right adjustments, and got the tap from the former champion. If you submitted Daniel Straus, you would probably do this too. Pat Curran def. John Teixeira by unanimous decision 3027, 3026, 2928 featherweight. Macapa pressed forward as expected to open up the bout, as Curran sat back and patiently awaited his preferred shots. Curran landed a hard right hook that appeared to wobble Macapa, but failed to follow up with anything. Curran briefly dropped his opponent with a tight counter left hook, but Macapa recovered right away and stood right back up. Macapa continued with his pressure into the second round, throwing at a decent clip as Curran continued to be selective. When Curran did pull the trigger, his shots were clearly more impactful than what his opponent was hitting them with, but Macapa was far more active. Curran went on to score a late takedown, but Macapa was quick to return to his feet before the round expired. Curran chained together a couple of takedown techniques to put his foe on his back to kick off the final frame. Macapa managed to scramble back to feet and pressed forward looking to land his volume, but the footwork and awareness of Curran made it too difficult to land anything substantial before the sounding of the final bell. This is what can happen when you try and throw a combo at Pat Curran. He steps in with the slickest of uppercuts. Leandro Higa def. Joe Anglo by unanimous decision 3027 by 2, 2928 bantamweight. The first round was pretty competitive as Anglo was able to neutralize his opponent against the cage for a decent chunk of time, before Higa was able to discover some open space. Anglo did manage to complete a brief takedown, but Higa bounced right back up to his feet without skipping a beat. Higa landed a hard right hand, which led to a takedown with some top control before the end of the opening round. Time Anglo came out in the second frame looking to throw his heavy hands, but struggled to connect early on as Higa defended well. Both bantamweights began to stand in the pocket a bit more, letting their respective combinations fly. Higa initiated a clinch that resulted in a late takedown, but Time Anglo was able to return to his feet without sustaining any damage. The output of Time Anglo seemed to dwindle a bit in the final round, as Higa was the busier fighter, throwing but not landing a bunch. Time Anglo found himself on the back of a standing Higa with about a minute remaining in the match, but Higa managed to scramble out and jump on a last-second guillotine. Time Anglo hung tough as Higa squeezed with all he had, and the round came to a close before any finish was realized. It might be safe to say that Higa's has some hands. Preliminary card: Ernest James vs. Ray Jones was a dark bout. Manuel Muro def. Emmanuel Rivera by unanimous decision. Lightweight: Sean Holden def. Shakir McKillop by KO at 439 of round 2. Catch weight of 160 pounds. Carrington Banks def. Steve Cazzola by unanimous decision. Lightweight: Chance Rentcountry def. Justin Patterson by submission. Darset 258 of round 1. Welterweight: Tegan Dooley def. Demarcus Simmons by submission. Americana at 212 of round 2. Light heavyweight: Weston Wilson def. LJ Hermrek by submission. RNC at 55 of round 2. Featherweight: Kendall Carnahan def. Daniel Carey by unanimous decision. Catch weight of 150 pounds.